The Preston Art Center, serving the Kentuckiana area since 1941.
I've seen a lot of your work around town that's mostly been plein air. Would you say that that's kind of what you're most known for right now?
Yeah, I think so. But I think being a plein air painter or painting plein air is the best teacher, because you're out there, you have to observe your environment very quickly, get it down, and then move on. So you're making those constant notations, and the temperature of the environment's changing, the shadows are changing, you know, bugs might come in, you know, everything. There's just all kinds of variable elements that one has to take into consideration when doing plein air.
What would you say is your favorite place in Louisville to paint plein air? If you had to pick like one of your top, or you could pick your top two places.
I guess down on the river, and now I can't wait to get down to the bridge and paint.
I'm sure.
Oh my gosh, we went to the bridge and walked across, and there are just so many gorgeous views, and so I can't wait to get down there. So I think that's going to be a big one. Bernheim Forest is fabulous. It's just, I know it's outside of the city limits. Cherokee is great. Whitehall's great. We're just blessed. We're just blessed here.
How often do you go out? Do you usually go out with other artists?
Yes.
How often do painters get together and work?
It's good, especially for a woman to go out with, other artists, or group. It's just a good thing to do, period. So, I'm a member of the Plein Air Painters of Kentucky, and we go out once a week, and then, sometimes just on a whim, like on a Saturday morning, I'll call somebody and say, hey, I'm going to go so place. Do you want to, if you got some time, you want to go? And so we'll always,
I like that. I bet there's a good sense of community with everyone there.
Yeah. And it's just amazing, too, because each person might be painting in the same spot, but their paintings are going to look so different.
That's what I like about that, is I feel like people don't realize the diversity that you can get with that, and seeing like 8 people's different perspectives of one building or one, riverscape or something.
Yeah.
In this painting, the style is a little bit more abstract than some of the other works on the wall. And you had mentioned that this was more of a studio piece.
Yeah.
Are your plein air pieces, do those tend to be more realistic and less abstract in style? Or?
No, well, it just depends on how long I stand out there. They all start out abstract, because I'm dealing with composition, shapes, and values. So I'm trying to get those 3 things down first. And then from there, if I'm pleased with what I've done, then I'll move on to building the painting from those 3 basic elements. When I'm in the studio, I use those elements, but I have a little more time to develop it. And there have been times when I've overdeveloped, and
Would you say that this is maybe how your style has changed over the years? Like showing a difference in how you kind of evolved or changed as an artist stylistically?
Yeah, I think any artist will, with a creative spirit will try different things all the time, because that's just an innate thing that we all have. Most artists don't just lock into one thing and, stay there. They'll all, and we all get better over the years, and the more you do, the better one will get. So I hope that I'm getting better. I'm trying to get better and better, and, looking at John Singer Sargent, and I'm thinking, one of these days, I hope, but, so that's where I'm going.
Would you say this is pretty typical of what your style is right now, with the types of paintings that you're creating?
Well, I'm trying to get away from color. The greens are changing, but these are, pretty earthy greens, and then of course these grays, with the olive trees. That's the way it is there. So and then these dark cedars in the background. So right now I've got a palette that I'm happy with. If anything changes, mostly it's palettes. I'll choose several basic colors for a palette, and I'll work with that for a while, and then I'll go to another basic color for a palette. So that's always changing as well.
So I see here we've got kind of two different examples of your work, and maybe you could talk about your new work and trying to using earth tones and how framing goes and your framing choices kind of tie in with the pieces that you make and how you choose your frames.
Traditionally, plein air frames are, you know, gold leaf, and they really enhance almost all plein air pieces. I have, within the last 3 or 4 years, been drawn to what's been called the Anders Zorn palette. Well, Anders Zorn and some other artists of his day used cad red light, a black, a cool black, and yellow ochre.
Okay.
No blue.
Oh wow.
And white. So,
Very good. Yeah.
so a lot of times I will just take those 3 colors in white out with me, because it is I like how when I push those 3 colors, the myriad of colors that I get from just those 3, and it's not a lot to take with me out on the site. So it's an attempt to get away from a lot of color, which is what I'm trying to do.
And I like the texture of the knife. I think it's really
Yeah.
that you kind of pops off the painting there.
Yeah, yeah. So, and again, these are all plein air paintings. That's the Capitol in Frankfurt, and this is also from that you can see the Kentucky River, just standing in the same spot, but to the left is the Capitol, to the right is Frankfurt below, and this is the reservoir.
And I can see how this frame would really pop, this piece would really pop in a gold frame, because the blue would contrast so much that it would draw out these highlights there. Whereas like this piece might look really great in a mahogany frame because you have the really kind of dark notes. So.
And this one would look good in the mahogany frame.
Yeah, because really muted colors there.
Yeah.
And as you were giving me a tour of your home, that you used to do like faux finishes and trompe l'oeil work and murals, and what kind of got you started and interested in doing that?
Well, when I first started my career, I was a graphic designer and airbrush illustrator, and I used to do very tight airbrush illustrations and photo retouching with an airbrush, and a lot of times I would use gravity-fed airbrush, and my world was from here to here, and I just finally decided I wanted to branch out from there. So I'd heard about a school in San Francisco, and I went out there for a while and studied, and then came back here and just started going to some designers, and they kept me busy for many years. So,
were most of your murals private commissions? Have you ever done any in a public place or a commercial building?
Yeah, I have done commercial, both private and commercial. It is probably heavier on the private, but with the commercial, it required a lot more scaffolding and getting into big places.
I noticed also that last year you were a guest artist for the Kentucky Art Council. What did that entail, and what did you do with that in that program?
Well, if an artist has been juried into the Kentucky Arts Council, then they pick a person each month to showcase, and so they picked me one month, and then they showcased my work.
So what's your favorite thing about being a painter?
Just the process of drawing and composing, being able to work, to do use hand-eye coordination, just the lusciousness of being able to use that paint. It's just, it is just so lush, you know, and to express myself, and then to just kind of sit back and see, you know, who likes what I do. So so it's a drive that is so deeply ingrained. I, you know, have always had these musings to be an artist, and so it's just the whole process, really, rather than picking one specific thing.
How long have you been painting for?
Well, I've been drawing since I was real young. And painting, I did painting in college. Well, I actually did it in high school, and then I did some in college, and then kind of got away from actual fine art painting and did the murals. And then when I decided that I didn't want to climb scaffolding so much anymore, then I went back to the fine art and teaching.
Do you mostly paint just like the plants and the water and the animal life as opposed to like a cityscape?
Well, yeah, I like cityscapes, but there is just something about, you know, Mother Nature that I love. And while I'm painting, I feel so good just being out there and thinking about, you know how things, the color, what happens to the color when something recedes, or what I need to do to make it look more attractive up front, and just being out there in the elements it is just the best.
What encouragement would you give to young artists to encourage them to do plein air, or to get to, you know, be out there, and how it could help them in their career, or, you know, to develop their style more?
Well, first of all, I would just say that being out and connecting with nature, and that's what you're doing, is such an uplifting thing to do. Period. As far as earning a living at it, it's very difficult. And, you know, I had my business doing murals. That sustained me for years until I could just break out and simply do and get my name out there enough that people would buy my work. That is a struggle. And so, but the commission work was great because I learned how to relate to people. So those business aspects and that part of my work was very important, and everybody's going to have to do that if you want to sell your work.
Right.
So so there are two things. It's the relationship with nature that I find so rewarding when painting outside, plein air, and then the relationship with human beings, and that's, you know, the business part of trying to sell your work and talking to people and explaining what you do. So there are two types of relationships there that I think that any young artist needs to develop.
Do you mean like when people come up to you while you're painting outside and talking about your work while you're out there? Or like if you're at Cherokee Park and people walking their dogs come by and they want to ask you what you're doing?
Yeah, because, and I like that because I have to stop what I'm doing and then relate to the questions that people are asking me, and then when they leave, then I have to switch gears again and go back into painting gear. So learning to be flexible and do that back and forth is really a good thing, and I enjoy that. I feel like I'm an ambassador for, you know, for artists, for people to be able to relate to, so that, you know, when they go to museums, they can think more about, well, I met an artist, and that person was willing to talk to me and explain what she's doing, and so that they get a little bit of a working knowledge of what it takes to be an artist. And so I always encourage people to do